As the screen comes out of whiteness, we can hear two distinct voices saying,
Sora,
"Sora,
wake
wake up!"
up!
The pod opens and Sora stretches before leaping out and landing on his atrophied legs, which crumble immediately and bounce him into the arms of Donald and Goofy. The group ponder why they were asleep for so long, and Jiminy checks his journal. In it are two words, and two words only: thank Nominee. He really should have wrote a bit more than that before they went under. In Chain of Memories, before Nominee gets her witch on fixing their memories, she's like, "Yeah, you guys won't remember anything about the events of this video game?" And then Jiminy has the bright idea of, "Well, let me just write this vague contextless note in my journal." And everyone's like, "Yeah, then we'll have the full story." They're dumb. Now controlling Sora, we wander through Twilight Town wondering where we are, when Sora stops and says he thinks he remembers this town. Donald's like,
What's it called then, bitch?
and Sora's like, "Oh, I must have imagined it." They find their way to the usual spot and barge in on Hayner, Pence, and Olette, who are real people and not Data this time. Hayner's hella rude and standoffish, clearly not in the mood, but the other two introduce themselves, and it turns out someone had recently asked them if they'd seen a group of people named Sora, Donald, and Goofy. He had a black coat over his face and these big round ears, so it's either a goth Jerry Mouse or a badass brooding Mickey Mouse. They head to the station where King Mickey supposedly accosted them. Outside, though, Sora, Donald, and even Goofy are surrounded by nobodies and must fight a seemingly endless horde that goes on for either a minute or until Fortnite is done updating. But more just keep coming and everyone falls over exhausted. It's looking like the end, which would be pretty abrupt since the beginning was like 10 minutes ago. But a black-cloaked midget with a golden keyblade swoops down from the top of the clock tower and delivers shiny metallic justice to like 5 dudes, which is apparently all that we're left. He then treats us like an explosion and refuses to look in our direction, delivering lines from the back of his head for no reason, saying we have to leave town and that the train knows the way. Then he gives us a money pouch like what Roxas had and sprints away. Because everyone in this game is stupid, the group questions whether that was really King Mickey, like they know anyone else with round ears and a keyblade who sounds exactly like King Mickey. Sora's goal is still to look for Riku, while Donald and Goofy want to find the guy who just left, and it's surmised that Riku and King Mickey would still be together or at least near each other, so the group decides to stick together for another journey. As they go to the station to board the train, they're hailed like a taxicab by Hayner, Pence, and Olette, who catch up to see them off. They're not really sure why they do, but they say it felt like they should. Sora pulls out his money pouch the king gave him to pay for the tickets, and Olette notices that it's the exact same one she has in her ass pocket, while Fall Guys updates in the background. And then I put my PS5 on Do Not Disturb mode because I'm fed up with this shit. Sora and them go to get on the train and say bye to the other group, which turns strangely emotional as everyone involved who isn't named Donald or Goofy can feel like there's something deeper at play here, like stronger ties between them than it seems like there should be. Hayner asks Sora if he's sure they've never met before. Sora thinks about it and says, "Positive." Then a tear randomly rolls down his cheek, and Hayner, Pence, and Olette are a little taken aback. Sora notices it, wipes it away, and says he doesn't know where it came from. And this is the part in playthroughs 2 through 20 where I cry because I know what's going on here. Not sure if that's supposed to be a spoiler though, so I'll leave it be for now. They board the train, it starts to take off, and Pence takes a few heartbreaking steps alongside it as it goes, which is cuter than it has any right to be. The Twilight Town group acts like they just watched their best friend leave town forever, and they don't even know why they feel that way. On the train, Sora is standing next to the door gloomily and delivers another Kingdom Hearts 2 line read that's so perfect I feel the need to highlight it.
You know, I'm sad.
There's such a perfect mix of obviously sadness, but also surprise and confusion, which is warranted since nobody knows what was up with that whole thing. Kingdom Hearts 1 might make you cry at Sora's sacrifice and the very end, but Kingdom Hearts 2 will put like a half dozen emotional things in there, and they all work. On top of Sunset Hill, the hooded man who calls himself Ansem is with Axel and Naminé. He's been ordered to destroy them by Diz, but instead he says, "Go." Axel's like, "You sure about this?" And Ansem says, "Castle Oblivion. You helped us." And Axel's like, "Well, you don't have to tell me twice." Except he just did, because you were like, "You sure about this?" He didn't go right away. Given Axel's famous catchphrase, you would think he'd at least have the last 5 seconds memorized. Axel and Naminé leave through a dark portal. Elsewhere, Sora's train lands at its final destination in front of this tall, twisty tower, but there's a giant hulking figure in front of the door, peering inside. He wears some fat, vertically zipped trousers, which look perfect in case he ever has to randomly squat down and take a quick shit. Donald asks,
What's going on?
and without turning around for a full-ass minute, Mr. Large and in charge talks behind himself, explaining that he sent some Heartless up in there to turn the powerful wizard who lives there into a Heartless. Goofy's like, you ought to find something nicer to do, because he's from the South now, which finally makes Pete turn around, after which point Donald and Goofy realize that it's Pete, because even if you recognize someone's signature outfit, signature voice, and signature size, if you don't see their signature face, well, it could be anybody. Pete is apparently Maleficent's lackey, indebted to her after she busted him out of being banished to another dimension by King Mickey, which I guess is something King Mickey does sometimes. Imagine getting banished by Mickey Mouse. That's like getting waterboarded by Santa Claus. You must have really fucked up if Mr. Rogers is like, you don't deserve to be my neighbor. Pete calls for some Heartless to show up, and we destroy them in literally 8 seconds. Pete says nobody messes with the mighty Pete, and then Sora's like, so who lives in this castle anyway? Like, just having a casual conversation with someone who just tried to have him killed. Pete says it's old Yen Sid, and upon hearing that name, Donald immediately runs up there and opens the door. Goofy explains that Master Yen Sid is the king's teacher, and then they both just ignore Pete and run after Donald. Pete doesn't appreciate the disrespect and starts stomping around and making 1930s sound effects. The group fights more Heartless as they climb the ever-swirling staircase until they finally reach the top. Once there, Donald and Goofy stand at attention while Sora puts his hands behind his head like only people who don't exist in real life do. Master Yen Sid sits there on his incredibly tall chair so as to have zero chance of tipping backwards. He wears a thrift store wizard hat and I assume he has a butt chin because he certainly has a butt beard. He tells Sora that he has another perilous journey ahead of him. Sora's like, we have to go on another quest? I was looking forward to finding my friend Riku so we could go back to the islands. At which point Yen Sid is like, oh, well, never mind then. By all means, go jerk off on your tiny island. Yen Sid summons a giant book and tells us to study it carefully. Thanks to the power of video games, however, it has been reduced to a much more digestible 3 paragraphs that mean nothing. It says shit like, can the reality be that which is hidden? The reason is mere existence. Still, memories can be believed. Oh, okay, now that I've finished my word salad, I think I'm ready for the main course. Sora asks how come the Heartless are still running around, and Yen Sid says that while darkness yet lingers in a single heart, it will be difficult to eliminate them. So Goofy's like, gosh, that must mean if everybody's heart was full of light, them Heartless would go away. And the other two smile and nod at him excitedly like, yeah, that's achievable. Yen Sid summons a projector image of a dusk, a nobody, and explains that sometimes if someone with a strong heart and will becomes a Heartless, the empty shell they leave behind begins to act with a will of its own. He says nobodies may seem like they have feelings, but they only pretend to have hearts, and that we must not be deceived, but I just spent the last 3 hours playing as Roxas and watching everything he went through, so your warning is falling on deaf ears as far as I'm concerned. He then projects an image of a group of people in black hoods and says these stronger nobodies have formed a group called Organization 13. They command the lesser nobodies and have a goal in mind, but he doesn't know what the goal is. He says that Mickey sensed the danger and started traveling world to world to uncover answers about Organization 13, which is apparently why he can't even stop and say hi to us, the bastard. Eventually, Yen Sid says what we've all been thinking ever since Sora woke up, which is that he needs a change of clothes badly. He says 3 good fairies will create appropriate garments if he asks, but that hiding among them is a naughty fairy who might give him a G-string instead. The group enters the room and sees 3 fairies huddling together doing God knows what. They do their classic thing from the movie where they don't agree on what color his clothes should be, so they each take turns making him look gross, until finally one of them says, all together now, and they create the actual sickest outfit on the planet. The crotch is a little blue for my taste, like I don't think that's an area you should be planting a unique color on, but the entire ensemble is bitchin'. The black and gold and red are all dazzlers. The fairies also summon a drive orb and introduce Sora to the concept. When he touches it, he starts convulsing before his clothes change to a palette of red, orange, and white, and he grows another keyblade out of his opposite hand. Dual wielding, baby. If Roxas has the power, then Sora certainly would. Apparently, to use this new Valor form in battle, Sora has to fuse with Goofy Piccolo style, but here Goofy is still in the background and he doesn't have to because stop asking. When they leave the room, Maleficent's crow brings her cloak into the back window where the good fairies still are, and they freak out and start remembering who Maleficent is, because I guess they forgot, and remembering her is bringing her back even more or something. I've always been a little confused by this part. They run off to go tell Yen Sid, except he teleported away already, and Maleficent finishes forming and stands there by herself laughing at nothing in particular. In the gummy ship, only one path to a world is shown, but as Goofy points out, it's a world they know, Hollow Bastion, which we'll get to in the next episode if you're all still alive by then.